All right. Hey, everyone. We are here to do the Parks and Rec book tag. And the original creator of this tag was Wanderlust Books, and I will leave her link down below. So do you want to start by introducing yourselves?
I am April Ludgate, aka Evie from She Was Only Evie. I chose April because, let's be honest, I feel like she most represents me as a person because I'm sarcastic and I hate everybody. So it's great. I read a lot of different genres, mostly classics, but it's really a hodgepodge of everything. So
I am Katrina Leslie Knope, and I don't have a booktube channel, but I am on Bookstagram, the Diary of a Book Nerd, and I took an unintentional hiatus, but I am officially back. I made my first post the other day, so you can find me there now.
Yeah, you tagged me, and I'm like, oh, darn it, she thinks I make posts on Instagram.
I took a chance.
Well, I might still do it. I'm just really bad at it. For some reason, filming a video is so much less work in my brain than taking a picture.
I get that.
So, anyways, we already got Ann Perkins on BookTube, so it's just a matter of time for you. But I am Ben Wyatt, aka Angela. I am Ben Wyatt because, as you can probably see, I own board games. And literally, my friends and I like to figure out what two Parks and Rec characters we are. And I am pretty much the child of Leslie Knope and Ben Wyatt in terms of my work ethic and optimism and board games and things. And I love waffles. So, but Ben Wyatt is more close if I had to pick one. And I read adult speculative fiction on average. And yeah.
I'm Ann Perkins, aka Ariel from A Cup of Books with Ariel. I picked Ann Perkins because somebody took Leslie before I got here. Whoops. That's what I get for being late. Which is more Ann Perkins.
Ann Perkins is the better of the two. Like, just
even according to Leslie. So
yeah. I probably actually That's also true. In my friend group am more of the Ann Perkins in the sense that I'm usually the voice of reason with a lot of people. I'm probably more Ann Perkins. My husband is not Chris Traeger though. At all. He's like Ron Swanson meets Andy Dwyer. It's great.
Oh, that's an awesome combo.
It's pretty great.
Well, if you're here, obviously
you didn't introduce yourself.
Oh yes, introduce yourself.
No, you.
Me? I was going to.
Oh, my bad. Everyone ignore me. It's like Wednesday and I'm tired.
So rude. So yes, I'm Ron Swanson / Stephanie, and you're here on my channel, obviously. And I'm mainly read fantasy, classics, and cozy mysteries. And I picked Ron because I tend to be quite grumpy as well. So it was very fitting.
Grumpy and right about everything, right?
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'm sad that none of us are cool enough to be Donna.
No.
Is anyone cool enough to be Donna?
She's in a league of her own.
Only really? Donna can be Donna.
Yeah. All right. Well, shall we get started?
Yes.
All right. So question 1, Leslie Knope, a strong female lead character.
All right. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first or?
You can go first.
Okay. All right. So no one should be surprised. Lassia from The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I got this edition off of Amazon or I don't know, somewhere. And it had the sticker residue in it. But anyways, Lassia is great. She is a wonderful female character that is simultaneously very strong, but not this is a historical fantasy, but she's a female character that makes sense in her time period while still being feminist, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but in the character work that Catherine Arden does with Vasya is it's just great. She's just great. She's consistent throughout the trilogy, but yeah, she grows at the same time. It's just, I love her. So that's my very quick answer.
I can't believe I didn't guess that was going to happen until I saw the book. I feel
Same.
I felt like
you really
it
got to guess it. I assumed people would probably figure it out.
As someone who's always right, I did think that was going to happen.
I was so worried about my own answers. I didn't think about what anyone else would pick. So yeah, I picked Emily Marshwick from Guns of the Dawn. This is a military fantasy, but it's set in a it's similar to Victorian England, so like Jane Austen-esque. And basically, it's a military fantasy between these two countries, and it has gotten to the point where all of the men have been sent to battle, and now they are taking the elderly and the women. And the main character gets sent into the war. And she is probably one of my favorite protagonists I've read this year. Very relatable and just very, very strong-willed. And she kind of grows her strengths throughout the story. It's really fun. So that's my answer.
One day I will finally read Guns of the Dawn.
It's good.
It sounds fantastic. And Alan has not led me wrong yet. So,
yeah.
The more people that tell me to read that author, the more I know I should. And at the same time, the more that I don't buy the books. Like there's a sci-fi series. There are now 2 fantasy things.
I'm literally reading this right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was really hard because I only read about badass, strong female characters, pretty much. Actually, not actually, but I had a lot. And I think I chose the one that had the most. So, like, in terms of, like, density of strong female characters in the book, I think this is, of this year, the highest. And that's The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. Could I have gotten my book from my own bookshelf in the other room? Maybe, but it didn't happen. So, sorry, guys. Really low-quality Angela today. But if you don't know, The Jasmine Throne has awesome female characters. You've got Priya, who is this handmaiden with a secret past and maybe a connection to the magic that exists in this world. You have kind of her older sister figure, Bhumika, who is phenomenal. She's pregnant. She's trying to run things, keep everything together. She's fantastic. And then you've got Malini, who is a princess who has been put in jail by her brother who really doesn't have a clue, and man is she ruthless, and I love her. And yeah, all these women are strong in different ways, which I also think is a strength of the book, because you don't just have like that same archetype or caricature. There are different ways to be strong, and that's highlighted in that book. So
so I had the same problem as Ben, because I also primarily gravitate towards books that have strong, badass female characters. So I was stuck, but I went with my like OG badass lady. And I picked Kel from Protector of the Small. This is the 3rd book in the series, but everyone will know I tote Tamora Pierce. Like, she's like one of my favorite authors of all time. She was like one of my original authors, and she has a couple series set in this world of Tortall that all feature really strong, badass female lead characters. But Kel has always been my favorite because Kel doesn't have magic, unlike most of the other characters. So she is in a world where there are people with magic, but she doesn't have it. And she is also the first woman to take advantage of the fact that women are now allowed to become knights. It has previously only been men who can literally go to school to be a knight. And then through some series of events in previous novels set in this realm, that changes. And so she's the first person to take advantage of that. And she does it on her own, and does it by doing all of the extra work and fitness regimes and studying and all of that. Like, she works really, really hard to keep up with them. And when I was younger and read this book, that was really inspiring, because I felt like at the time I picked up this book, most other female characters in like fantasy books were usually kind of the princessy archetype where they just needed to be saved. And so this was one of the first series where I was like, oh no, she can save herself. Like, this is like probably one of the most like formative characters from literature that like informed me as a person. So when I had to think of a strong female lead, I was like, I gotta go with Kel. Gotta go with Kel. And I don't want to say like too much about the plot because it's mostly she's becoming a knight. And there's like it's like the residuals of a war has just happened in the previous series, and so this is kind of the aftermath. And there's still like war going on, and country lines are kind of being redrawn and that sort of thing. So that was my pick.
Nice. I picked Margaret Hale from North and South. This is a Victorian novel. Yes. So Margaret, her father leaves the church because he's doubting his faith and he thinks it's the right thing. So they move to the north of England, which is really industrialized. And Margaret gets to know the townspeople and sees all the poverty and kind of develops her own social justice activities. And I just really like her. She goes through so much and she's really resilient. And I think she's very relatable. So she's one of my favorite protagonists ever. And this book is really good. You should really read it.
So I should read that over Mary Barton.
I have not read Mary Barton, but this one I think is more popular.
Okay.
I've never even heard of the other one. And granted, I'm not in that sphere, but
this has kind of Pride and Prejudice vibes.
Yeah.
For the Victorian era.
I haven't read it, but I watched the, was it an Amazon miniseries, 4-part series, or it was on Netflix at one point.
Yeah, the BBC adaptation.
Yeah, that was excellent. Richard Armitage played the romantic interest, and he was perfect. And I don't remember the actress who played the main character, but she was also phenomenal, and I just, like, loved that. I was very sad when it went off Netflix, and the book is on my, like, these are classics I need to read.
Yes. All right. Number 2, Ben Wyatt. A character you can see yourself dating or marrying.
I feel like this is going to be interesting.
oh, my answer. This is the first one I wrote down.
This was also the first one I wrote down.
I had a hard time with this one.
So speaking of classics,
oh God,
Captain Wentworth from Persuasion.
I knew for you it would be an Austen.
Well, you know.
I was nervous it was going to be Frankenstein's monster, so I feel better now.
Listen, I'm not that weird, okay? I mean, but Frankenstein's monster, the creature, is misunderstood. Just telling everybody that, and all he did was want a wife. Spoiler alert. Because we all need love. But anyways, Captain Wentworth is... I don't know. He's Captain Wentworth. He is an idiot. Not on page, not as much of an idiot as other characters have been, but he knows Anne Elliot's worth, and he respects her as a woman, and he doesn't try and change her, and he's just fantastic, and he admits when he's wrong, which is also fantastic in a male lead character.
What a bar.
It's true. It's very low. But yeah, no, he's just, and, you know, I used to be an army brat, and when I read this in high school, like, I was like, oh, he's a military man. He's great. So there's that. So I would love to have married Captain Wentworth, but alas, I have settled. Sorry.
Okay. I chose Laszlo from Strange the Dreamer.
Aww.
Because I had a hard time with this. All right. This was a long time I thought about this answer. He reads. He likes to read. He is kind. He is not dramatic, and he's dependable. I mean, that's really all there needs to be, right? So yeah, that's my answer.
Is Strange the Dreamer is that technically considered YA or is it adult?
It's published in young adult.
It's kind of,
Yeah.
it can be a crossover.
Yeah.
I think.
It's that like weird new adult, like which is not an official genre.
If you go to a United States bookstore, it will be in the young adult section.
Yes.
Right. Also, I got this UK edition, and it's so much prettier than the US.
Isn't it?
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it.
You know, Katrina, you're just gonna mention all of the books that people keep telling me to read, and I keep ignoring them. I just keep being like,
Strange the Dreamer.
Yeah,
is
there might be
so
more.
beautiful.
yeah.
You
Well,
need to read.
mine, and I have loved this character since I want to say 2014. We've been with each other a long time. This is Adolin from the Stormlight Archives. It's apparently a hot take. I did not know this was a hot take when I joined the bookish internet. I did not know people did not like this character. I was legit shocked. But I straight up, like, I joke with Ryan, my fiance, like, you're like my Adolin, you're like my rock, because that's what Adolin is in the Stormlight Archive. He is the rock. He is the person who keeps everyone together, and that only increases. And it's kind of like what you said for the strong female character. He's the most, like, underpowered character. Like, his specialties come from his privilege. Like, he uses the advantages he's had as a prince and, you know, having privilege, but, like, he's not the one having powers and everything like that, like other main characters you have. And watching him grow and handle the change in political scenery and how he helps his friends. I love Adolin, and he's really cute, and he looks good in Shardplate. And yeah. Anyways, I also had a backup. I had a backup. Allie from City of Brass. He's a bookworm warrior. How do you not want to date Allie?
Oh, I haven't read that.
Oh, well, he's a bookworm warrior.
Well, I better read it then. Also, did you see everyone's face when you said fiance? We were like,
Oh, could we be more girly? Or just falling into that norm, which I feel like I fell into the norm with my choice. So I didn't have an answer for this because I've never actually really like had a book boyfriend crush thing, like the way that they talk about with like a lot of YA. But then I just finished this book this week, and I'm gonna say Jonah from The Simple Wild because, okay, first of all, he's a pilot, which is, let me put it over here so you can see it. There we go. He's a pilot in the Alaskan bush, which is just badass on its own. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I really like is he's kind of like the grumpy character, but he's also really witty and really funny and very much a sarcastic, like, smartass, which I'm just like, that's kind of my type.
So do you like Ron Swanson too?
Yeah, I do. I said earlier, my husband is a combination of Andy Dwyer and Ron Swanson. My husband's also kind of like this character because the other thing that my husband and this character does, one of the things I really liked about this is he really pushes the main character kind of like outside of her comfort zone, but also like, and like he challenges her. And one of the reasons he even likes her is because she's like feisty. And he just like there's like a lot of witty banter in this book, which I just loved. And he's very respectful, and he'll like be like gruff and kind of mean or seem mean, but then like he'll do like really sweet things that like he knows you need a particular thing and he'll get it for you. So I just like absolutely adored him while I was reading this book. So I would definitely say Jonah. I would totally go for Jonah.
So my answer is probably really cliche. But I picked Jamie Fraser from Outlander. He's my favorite. He's amazing. He's sexy and funny and strong and protective and loyal. And I just love him so much. And he just gets better with every book. And I love that he grows as he learns. He doesn't just stick with the thoughts of his time. So number 3, Ron Swanson, a character you didn't think you would end up loving.
So this is probably a stretch of an interpretation of the question, but I'm going to say Gawain from Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So when I originally read this, I'm like, this is like a, medieval text that's of its time and it's kind of dry, whatever. But the more time that has passed since I read this, and the more that I've discussed it with people, not only the text, but also the film, The Green Knight, that came out a month or so ago, the more that I've discussed it and thought about it, the more that I like Gawain and like what the poet was kind of trying to convey through the character. So Sir Gawain in The Green Knight, in case you didn't know, is about Sir Gawain, where he goes on a quest to there's a duel between him and the Green Knight, and there's an agreement that, hey, come back in a year and we can fight again and I can return the blow of the Green Knight. So that's basically the story. It's very short. But I don't know, it's just he's stuck with me and he's just kind of grown on me as time has passed. So yeah.
Didn't they just make this into a movie? Like a really like stylized movie?
Yeah, with Dev Patel, called The Green Knight.
Okay, yeah.
Like A27 or something studio, or that fancy studio.
Yeah.
It's very indie.
Mhm.
Fun fact about that film: the guy who plays I don't think he's actually named in the film, but it's Lord. Oh gosh, totally blanking out. Anyways, he's the lord of a castle that Sir Gawain goes to. The guy who plays that character also played Gawain in King Arthur, the early 2000s film with Keira Knightley. So
it's Joel Edgerton, isn't it?
Joel Edgerton. There you go.
I love him. Great actor, underrated actor.
Indeed, but fun fact for your trivia knowledge in case it's ever required.
You never know. So you knew this was going to have to happen, but I chose Knope from the City Watch books. So Knope he's kind of a gruff little character. People don't know whether he's even like fully human or not. They question his race, whether he's like a dwarf, a goblin, a troll. They don't know what he is. So he has to carry around proof that he's a human. And he like steals things and his morality isn't the greatest, but he's really funny. And in this book particularly, he kind of goes on this like mission for feminism because he realizes how tough it is to be a woman. And he kind of takes on that mantle for himself. And really ever since this book and forward, he's been one of my favorite characters. And he's just hilarious. So yeah, I say Nobby Knobs from the City Watch books.
Mine is Kyle Haven. I'm kidding. I still hate Kyle. Nothing's
I was
changed.
like, wait, what?
What book is that from?
In the Live Ship Trader series, when you read Ship of Magic, in about 50 pages, you will meet Kyle. And yeah, he's
Horrible.
he's a horrible human being. No, he did not grow on me. This was actually kind of hard because I feel like I forget when that I used to not like a character a lot of the time, or if I do start to like them, they don't suddenly usually become favorites. But I guess the obvious one for me, and I don't think anyone here has read it, but Steris from Mistborn Era 2. So Mistborn Era 2 is the Wild West ones, and you meet this character Steris, who basically has a stick up her butt. She's very precise by the rules. She's very like follows protocol, and you're just like, why are you no fun? Like you don't get a good impression of her. And by the end of, well, the series isn't done, but by the time we are where we are now, I realized I had this moment of, Steris, you're the best. Also, you're me. Oops. Like I had this whole
Oops.
like she's coded to be on the autism spectrum, and she has a lot of social anxiety, and you really start to learn that throughout the series. And a lot of her coping mechanisms, I'm like, oh wait, I should do that. That would be nice. Like, so it's just one of those things where like when you first meet her, because you don't spend a lot of time with her, you're just like, you're no fun. Show me the fun people. And now she actually is one of like my top 3 Sanderson characters, mainly because like I identify with her a little bit too much. But
Every time you talk about her, it makes me want to read Era 2 so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Era 2 is fun. Just don't expect Era 1, which I don't know why people did. But here's the thing. When people pick up Era 2 now, they are spoiled Sanderson children. They have all the Sanderson books. When I picked up Era 2, we were waiting for him to finish the Wheel of Time. We were just sitting there waiting for him to write 3 Wheel of Time books. And he was like, here, children, have the first law. And we're like, oh, this is so cool. It's only 300 pages, but book. And everyone now is just spoiled and takes it for granted. I get really annoyed when people don't like Era 2. Like, you don't have to love it, but when people like hate on it, I'm like, you don't know what joy this caused us. You weren't there. You weren't in 2011. You don't know.
Segueing. So for me, this was I think the first question I answered, and that was Veritas from Malice. How can I get this in frame? This is not my usual hand. Okay, well, just remember to put it in my right hand moving forward. I can remember reading, and so I've only read Malice and Valor. I still need to read the rest of the series, but in this first book, Veritas drove me up a wall. I was like, you are so naive. You are following the wrong person, in my opinion. Like, I couldn't stand him. And as this book went on, and certainly in Valor, there's like a very subtle shift in his view of the world because he gets exposed to more things. And all of a sudden I found myself realizing that he had become one of my favorite characters, because I was like, oh, you're starting to question everything, and you're questioning if you're doing the right thing. Is this the right person to be following? I don't know. He just got very, very, very interesting, and he became one of the most interesting characters to me. So he's like top 3 character for me. And I was like shocked when I was reading Valor, and I was like, do I have a Veritas chapter yet? Like, are we there yet? So definitely for him.
Nice. I picked Hilo from Jade City. When we first meet him, he's kind of really morally gray. And then he ends up, I didn't know if I would like him or not. And then he ends up showing his love for his family. And
this is such an odd choice. I have such different opinions.
I know.
I have it.
But I don't know. I just really like him. I think he's such a well-written character.
You and I are going to have words because you don't like one of my favorite weird characters.
I know.
We're going to...
Uh-oh.
Also, when you first meet Hilo in that book, he is the most... No one put him on their person to date, but when he goes to see his girlfriend, he puts a bookmark in her book because she fell asleep while reading it. Excuse me.
He does.
That's when you meet him.
That's cute.
I know.
I do like that.
But this is like mafia. Sorry, Oliver just jumped in my lap. Obviously, she doesn't like my opinion. But it's kind of mafia, so I didn't know what I would expect.
I mean, I'm going to see what Jade Legacy has in store, but he is compelling.
Yeah. But anyway.
I'm questioning your opinions on just another character. You're inconsistent.
You know, I like what I like. You too.
She loves me. She's on my side.
Yeah, she is on your side. Number 4, April Ludgate, a grumpy character that is very lovable.
Sorry, I'm distracted by the cat meowing.
The cat, adorable. Right?
She's very grumpy.
So I feel like I mentioned this book in the last TV book tag we did, which was Golden Girls. Shameless plug. Check it out.
Go watch it.
Sensei from Kokoro by Natsume Saseki. So both the narrator and the person named Sensei, like, that's not actually his name. The narrator just refers to him as Sensei. He's an old guy, and we meet him obviously from the narrator's perspective, and he just seems like he's a grumpy old guy. And I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a lovable, but for the arc, and as you learn more about him, you find yourself loving him more, and more understanding of his grumpiness, I guess. Yeah, so this is a modern classic Japanese novel written in 1910, I think, or maybe 1900. And I feel like not a lot of people know, like, know about classic Japanese literature, and I feel like everyone should read this. So, Kokoro, go for it. Also, he has a book called I'm a Cat. And again, I think we talked about this last time, but
Yeah, it's ringing a bell. My choice is Murderbot. Because
I almost picked Murderbot.
the ultimate grumpy character. Murderbot was made to be security for scientists, and he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to partake in violence. He wants to watch his TV shows, and he wants to chill out and veg. Like, that's all he wants to do. And he gets a little grumpy sometimes because they don't let him do it. And I love him very much.
Anytime he gets interrupted in the book series, when someone interrupts his streams, the commentary is just
Okay, my favorite. This isn't a spoiler, but my favorite is there's a scene where this group of people are talking and he just doesn't want to partake in the conversation anymore. So he goes to a corner and stands in it, facing the wall, and just stands there.
God.
I was like, yes, I wish I could do that.
Well, what's great is now in real world, people are so used to other people being on their phone, and my phone has the Kindle app. So
Yes.
that's another book on Katrina's list that I haven't read. I think I am 0 for 4 on Katrina's list.
Well, yeah.
I have 3 options, and I don't know what to choose. And then I have the like cop-out option that is like the actual answer, but I don't want to talk about it. And that one's like A Man Called Ove, but I don't. Everyone talks about A Man Called Ove, so I don't. He's the definition of the grumpy old lovable man. Go read it. Okay, I'm gonna pick. Okay, only because someone's already mentioned the Bear and the Nightingale. I'm not going to mention Marasco, but I thought about him because he's a very grumpy old god man who is very lovable and kind of sexy. He's pretty great. But I'm going to go with Geralt from the Witcher series.
hold on. Go back to Marasco real quick. All of those words are confusing my brain right now. Old Raven,
He's
sexy.
old, but he is sexy. He's immortal. What do you want?
You can't be old if you're immortal.
Okay, old doesn't mean your body's decrepit. Old just means age.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, it's Wednesday, I guess. I don't know.
But I'm still landing on
look at
Geralt.
Aragorn. He's like 90, and he doesn't look like he's 90.
It's true.
86.
86, thank you.
We didn't say golden years. That was last tag.
It's fine. Carry on. I've already derailed it enough. It's fine. Go ahead.
I mean, everyone knows who Geralt is. I just love him because he is like a sassy, grumpy character. He's just always like humph, but I guess you'll be my friend. I think it's Dandelion or Yasker, whatever the dude's name is, who likes always playing music around him. He's like, you actually amuse me and I like your company, but I cannot show emotion. And
It's Dandelion, yeah.
Well, the audiobooks say Dandelion and Dandelion. And I'm just like, get yourself together, books.
I mean, so I'm going to derail for a second. So I actually only have really ever played the video game. I tried the books and I just like
It's okay. You can, that's fine. Yeah.
couldn't do it. But I love the video game, especially Witcher 3, which is primarily the one that I've played. And they said Dandelion. Like, they say Dandelion, like, throughout the whole video game. And then I was, like, watching a review and someone said Dandelion, and I was like, wait.
Yeah, some
What?
books say
So-
Dandelion and some say Dandelion,
Yeah.
and it's the same narrator. And I'm not Polish, so I don't know. So I just moved on.
I have no idea, but I love Geralt.
In
I
the
also
show, they
love-
call him Yaskier or something. It's a different name.
Yeah, they just, like, renamed him, which,
They didn't want to deal with that.
yeah. I do
Oh,
love
no.
Henry Cavill as Geralt. I think he does an
Henry
excellent
Cavill
job.
being Geralt is why I picked up the Witcher series. I'm shallow. That is why I did it.
Well, I mean, come on. Like,
And I have no regrets, because as I have read The Witcher, Henry Cavill is in my head.
yeah. Well, and so interesting tidbit from my previous life working in the entertainment industry. I think this is pretty widely known, but he almost was not Geralt. He had to fight with his agents to get them to submit him,
Yep.
or whoever. And he fought to get even just an audition because he wanted it, because he loved the books, and he's a gamer. If you didn't know, he plays like Warhammer 40K. He's a
I have
big
watched
nerd.
Henry build a
Warcraft too.
computer. I
Yeah,
know.
he is a super nerd. And so he fought to audition to play Geralt, and it's like, and I remember like hearing that and not knowing that, like, and then like watching the show, which the show, but I'll still watch it. And like the second he started talking, I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect. He gets it. This is perfect. He's so good.
Well, who's your grumpy character? That is very lovable.
We're doing a tag. So I picked Irene. I think Irene,
I think, yeah.
I think it's Irene from Senlin Ascends, because she's just like this big, towering Amazonian chain-wielding warrior. And then the more you go into the series, I've just finished Arm of the Sphinx, and she's just like this giant teddy bear. And I was just like, oh, you like really care about people, and you've just kind of been used and abused in a lot of ways. And so like I really like her. She's not like my favorite character in the whole series, but she's definitely like up there.
She's a good character.
And she just comes off so grumpy. Like the first thing she wants to do to people is like punch them. And like her whole mindset is, okay, I could do this to you. If you try to attack me, I could break your nose. Like, and just, I love her inner monologue. So that was my pick.
Nice. I picked Rachel Lynn from Anne of Green Gables. She gets really grumpy when she doesn't know people's business.
Oh, yeah.
But she can be very lovable. And once she gets to know you, she can be really loving. But she's hilarious.
There are lots of grumpy adults in that book.
There really are. But you know, I had to fit it in the tag somehow. So that's how I did it.
So I will say that when I read Anne of Green Gables earlier this year, I think it was, I opened it up and I'm like, wait, is this the right text? Like, did I get bamboozled and get a different, like, actual text that just says Anne of Green Gables? Because I did not expect it to start with Rachel. So. But.
She's quite entertaining, though.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
Is she the neighbor? I'm sorry, I haven't read the book.
She's the neighbor.
He's the nosy neighbor, yeah.
The nosy neighbor.
She's the nosy neighbor.
Number 5, Andy Dwyer, a character that seems to get in a lot of trouble.
So, kind of related to Ariel's Senlin Ascends. I'm going to say Valletta from, well, throughout the entire series so far, but specifically in The Hod King. She seems to get into a lot of trouble. I'm
gonna need you guys to pause real quick. There's more than Senlin and Senlin Ascends, because I did not know that from the internet.
So Senlin Ascends, there's gonna be 4 books. 4th one comes out in November, but the first book primarily follows Senlin as he meets these other characters, and then the 2nd and 3rd books follow the rest of the characters as well as Senlin. So
yeah,
but,
Senlin's still there.
Yeah. But yeah, so Valletta, she she starts off, at least for me, she was very annoying, but because she was constantly getting into trouble, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to like spoil anything for anybody, especially you, Ariel, since you haven't started the Hod King yet. But she is very tenacious. She's very she's a kid, and she's been not necessarily sheltered, but she's been taken care of. Everyone's looking after her, and I feel like she doesn't realize the consequences of her actions or what she says all the way through. So that's my answer.
So similarly, I chose Senlin. Senlin Ascends.
Has everyone read Senlin but me?
I'm in the middle of it.
Oh, God.
Come on, Angela.
Join the club.
0 for 5.
He's, what does Alan call him? Feckless.
Yeah.
He's just like, if you were just randomly dropped in the middle of a crazy tower with people who are not the nicest, you would do the same things that he does, most likely. And then he just gets into so much trouble because he expects one thing from the tower and it gives him another thing. and he trusts the wrong people sometimes, and he trusts the wrong literature about the tower. And yeah, he's just constantly messing up and making mistakes, but that's kind of why I like him, because I could see myself doing the same things. Like, I can't get on him for making mistakes when I do the same thing.
You can. That's not you.
I mean, I could.
You could.
I could. You're right.
My small issue with Senlin is when I read literary-like books, it's usually not in fantasy. Like, it's usually in sci-fi or literary fiction, and I know this one's, like, more literary fantasy, if that is a subgenre, but also it's got that trope of, like, you're separated from the person and then you're lost, and I hate that. That, like, gives me anxiety. Like, what's that movie with the dogs and the cats that aren't at home? They have to find their way home.
Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound.
Yeah, it's that trope, and it stresses me out.
That's understandable. Though I will say, it is epic fantasy.
No, I'm talking more the writing style.
Okay, no, the writing style is literary fantasy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
normally, I mean, it's not impossible, but I actually don't know of a literary fantasy that I love. I know plenty of literary sci-fi and fiction, but not a fantasy. But my answer is Matt Coffin from Wheel of Time. That boy has no chill.
Oh my god.
Such a
character.
idiot sometimes.
I mean, maybe he gets better. I'm like 6 books in, but he routinely, if he's not doing what he shouldn't be doing, he's saying what he shouldn't be saying. He's thinking what he shouldn't be thinking. He is a mess. He is a mess.
I'm going to warn you. I read 11 of the books. Doesn't change.
I don't think he gets better, but people get tattoos of his stuff. I'm like,
What?
they get tattoos.
I don't get it.
No.
I read that series back in like high school, so it's been a long time since I've read it, and I honestly don't intend to go back. But I remember liking him as a high schooler, so maybe just poor choices of tattoos.
I mean, the way I describe him in book 1 in Eye of the World is he's just literally Merry and Pippin had a kid, and it's Matt Coffin.
Yeah.
Like, all of his decisions are
Very
like that.
accurate.
The way
Yeah.
I describe him in book 1, which is the only one I've read so far, is he's Abu from Aladdin, the cartoon movie.
He's exactly a boo. That is
He's
so
Abu.
That is spot on.
spot on.
Mhm.
So, that was also surprisingly one of the earlier ones I wrote down when preparing this, and I was like, didn't think Wheel of Time would make it on here. But here we are.
Evie's been quiet. Do you have a Matt tattoo that we need to know about?
Nope. I
Okay.
got
There is no universe in which she likes Robert Jordan, or I will riot.
Yeah, I can't see that.
as my resident gatekeeper for all things fantasy. Angela should know.
If you liked Robert Jordan but didn't like Brandon Sanderson, I would riot. I would just rage.
That would be so odd.
That would be funny.
Just- like, I don't agree that they're similar, but it's not like Robert Jordan's is better. Anyway, sorry. I don't mean to derail. Matt Coffin. He had to come up.
I'm surprised I didn't think of him. That tells you how removed I am from the series. Well, I'm realizing that some of the books on my list are like, oh, of course she brought this. So for this one, I'm going to say Ed and Al from Full Metal Alchemist. Because they are always doing what they're not supposed to. If someone says, don't go here, they go there. And just like half of the events that happen in this book are because they did what they're not supposed to and they got in trouble. I mean, that's like basically the cornerstone of this book is they did the thing they're not supposed to and got into trouble. And now they're sort of trying to fix it, but they're still getting into trouble. And I also just love them for that. They're kind of Merry and Pippin-esque, but maybe, well, I was going
Like
to say
a level
slightly
above.
smarter, and I was like, that's arguable. But yeah, so I said I was at an Al from Full Metal Alchemist.
So, Stephanie, do you just have Merry and Pippin? Like,
I do not, although I almost put them down. I picked Trisha Miles for Murder is Binding. It's a cozy mystery series, and there are 14 books, and she is almost always the one that discovers the dead body and gets involved in the murder investigation. And the townspeople have labeled her a jinx. So
I mean,
Aw.
honestly, I would too. You find a dead body more than twice, and
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah,
say
we're at 14 now, at least. There's
Oh my
more than
God.
that.
Is anyone
She has
starting
to be
to question
traumatized.
if she is the murderer in any of these? Because she's finding a lot of dead bodies.
that's the
So-
twist in the last book of the Cozy Mystery. It was hers all along.
That's what I'm waiting for.
I don't know if Cozy
I'm
Mysteries are
just-
allowed to do that, but I'd be excited.
So far they haven't, but I'm just waiting on one. But that's going to be the final one. Be like, it was me all along.
Oh my gosh, that would be masterful. Like, I'm just thinking about how you would like have to plot that to make whatever like initial thing make sense, but then to go back and be like, oh no, it actually was that person. That would be a way to spin that genre on its head, and I would be so impressed if someone did that.
Me too. Okay, Anne Perkins, a character that you would like as your best friend.
I really struggled with this one, so I'm gonna go with Piranesi from Piranesi.
Okay.
He's very.
I haven't even read the book, but this is just not a description I've heard
I
before.
know. I struggled with this. So this is more of a like a, not necessarily best friend, but it's like I would want my best friend to be a lot like me, and I felt very much a connection to Piranesi. He's very, I don't know, he seemed very quiet, very introverted, but very inquisitive, and very, like, not necessarily naive, but I guess a hopeful naivety to him.
Innocent?
Yes, innocent. Which I'm not saying that I'm, well, whatever. Anyways, so I would say him, because also at the end, like he's very supportive. Actually, even throughout the book, he's very supportive and understanding and open to everyone and everyone's experiences. And I would love to have a best friend like that, which I do have best friends like that. So there you go.
Well, I couldn't pick a human for this question, so I picked a dragon.
There you go.
I picked
Temeraire.
Temeraire from His Majesty's Dragon.
I've read this one.
You did read this one.
I've read
That's
this
why
one.
I kept looking like, wait, I know at least one that she's read. This book was like a mix for me. I liked parts of it a lot. Some of it just dragged for me, but Temeraire is so sweet, and he's just so pure, and like he's the cutest thing. And I would love to have a best friend who is a dragon, and he could just pick me up and we could like fly around, even though I'm kind of scared of heights, but you know, yes. So I picked the dragon for my best friend.
I didn't know animal companions were an option.
I
but
didn't either. That was genius.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think I'm still sticking. So I'm on the edge of both. One where I'd have more time, and the other where I'd be safer. Like, so the safer one is, well, and even that's questionable, but Terrain is like a very loyal individual, and I think she's cool. And like, I would want her in my corner. But the one I landed on is 3 Seagrass from the Texcalon duology, A Memory Called Empire. 3 Seagrass is hysterical. She's very witty. She's not a perfect individual, but I don't need my best friends to be perfect. I just need them to be like a good foil for me. And I think like she's like more like free spirited and like exploratory, and that works well with my very like sedentary, safe nature. So I think like that would be fun. I don't know. She's when you read the books, she's just like her interactions with the main character are like so awesome. I just love the banter. And an important thing for me and a best friend is, can we talk and can we have a good time?
Definitely.
So 3 Seagrass, who Evie needs to meet but hasn't met yet.
You do.
Planning on it.
just saying.
So I also didn't technically pick a human. I would pick any of these, but if I had to pick one, I would pick Chauncey from the House of the Cerulean Sea.
Yes.
See, I would
honestly,
adopt Chauncey. I don't know if I'd make Chauncey my best friend.
Well, I was thinking like, I don't know. I just in my head I was like, well, if he was like I don't know. would love to have like a friend whose one goal in life is so like wholesome and simplistic and not like, I don't know. I don't want to. I just like. I mean, because like honestly, any of the children in this, I would want to be friends with, especially if I was a child myself. But like for some reason, Chauncey was always the one that stuck out in my brain because he's just this little blob creature who just wants to be a bellhop. I mean,
So precious.
so precious and just like, oh, yeah, I'd be friends with Chauncey. He deserves to be a bellhop.
He does.
Are there even bellhops anymore? Anyways, that's a different thing.
Not.
They can
I mean,
create
like,
a job just for him, and it would be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's. I mean, I would assume like at like large hotels that you still kind of have like a bellhop person, but they're not called a bellhop, and they certainly don't wear like the bellhop uniform anymore. But I would make him the uniform.
I don't know. I just watched White Lotus. I don't want him to have to work for rich people. He deserves better.
That's true.
I picked Lizzie Bennett from Pride and Prejudice. She likes to read, and she's smart and sensible, unlike her sisters, who are really irritating. And I just love her character, and I find her very relatable. And I feel like I could have good conversations with her as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the biting wit is great.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Biting.
Wit is important in both persons you would like to romantically be involved with and have as your best friend.
Absolutely. Number 7, Gary, Jerry, Larry, Terry, Gergich. A book that you don't really care for.
I take issue with this prompt, by the way, because I love Gary, Jerry, Larry, and
I
Terry.
know. They feel
It should be
bad
like a
for
book where you
him.
can never remember the characters' names. If I had written
Yeah.
that prompt, that's what it would have
Oh
been.
yeah.
I know.
I'm just saying to like give Gary, Jerry, Larry, Terry credit. Like he landed a super hot wife. I mean, come on.
Great.
Real talk, he was the Ben Wyatt no one saw coming. Like,
Yeah. Well, like this was my thing when I initially started watching the show is I remember watching in the first like interactions with Gary, Jerry, Larry, Terry, Gergich, I was uncomfortable. I was like, I don't know if I can get behind the show because of how they treat this particular character. Like I was like, it physically hurt to like watch it. And it was only like when they started to have him being like, that's what my job is or whatever. And then when we found out about his home life, I was like, oh, okay, he's happy.
Yeah.
Like
I really liked when Donna really liked just watching him work near the end of the series. I was just like, this is so weird. Anyways, your answer, Evie.
Yes, sorry. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
I just knew it could have been a book I loved, and I'm just really happy right now.
Oh, I could
Ouch.
not for that one, but I decided to not take a low blow. So
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
well, I'm
so I
sad.
also kind of again, I didn't hear you. Sorry. What?
She's
All I said
sad
was, well,
because she
I'm
likes
sad.
this book.
I
Well,
do like
We're,
that book.
we're all
Sorry,
sad.
Oh, I'm not, but I
I'm
don't.
not
I have
sad.
mediocre V.E. Schwab thoughts.
So I will say that I actually really I liked this book up until the very end, but I kind of took this prompt again. I interpreted it a little bit loosely, but if I hadn't have gone to any author interviews for this when this was being released before I read it, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more without the expectations that the author put into the book by talking about it. So
Interesting.
really, Schwab ruined it for me and made me not care for it as much as I
She
could.
ruined her own book for you.
I can understand that.
Yeah,
I love
I
it.
also
but
went to
get
an
why
author
people
talk.
don't like it.
Yeah.
So I don't have my answer physically because I gave it away. But it's The Dinner List by Rebecca Searle. And I chose it from Book of the Month, 1 month. And it was like a what if you showed up to your birthday dinner and the 5 people you'd most want to be there were there. And I don't know, it seemed interesting. But one of the people at this main character's birthday dinner was Audrey Hepburn. And it was written, I don't know. I just didn't care for the way they interpreted her character, Audrey Hepburn. It was very stilted and not my favorite. And I pushed through it. And then the ending just very anticlimactic and weird. So yeah, I don't care for that book.
Mine is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I think when I finished it, I liked the ending enough that I was like 3.5 stars. But as time has gone by, and Ryan and I recently, we haven't posted yet, but we filmed a video where we both don't really like it. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this at all. I apparently really don't like it. It was one of those things.
It gets worse the farther you get from it.
My issues with it, and it's purely a subjective thing. I don't actually think this is like objectively a bad piece of literature. If someone like connects with it and it helped them get out of a slump or they really liked it, that's great. The things that like I take issue with is like the representation of the main character. He is a scientist. He is aspiring professor. He has a PhD, and the novel is very binary about work-life balance. It's either all work, you are completely successful, or you have a family life and you're not successful. There is no middle ground. And I really dislike that as someone who's like in academia, because that's an unhealthy way of looking at academia, and I don't like it perpetuated. And he's also the dumbest smart guy I've ever seen. And it's like the definition of like street smarts versus book smarts. And I also hate that one. Like you can have common sense and know how to read a book. Like these are not separate skills. Mm-hmm. So I don't like the main character, and the majority of the book is the perspective of the main character being a dummy, but being told that he's really smart. So
yeah, I second that. He's so dumb.
Right? I don't even have to spoil the book to tell you about this. Like, but if you read the book and you think about what I'm thinking, it gets even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. It would be a great movie, and you can pick your favorite classic white dude that's in a sci-fi movie, Matt Damon, Tom Cruise, whatever, insert as this character, and it would be a good movie. But I've learned that some things that make good movies I don't like in my books.
Yeah.
I also don't own mine because I got rid of it. It was The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winters. I'm sorry, Stephanie. I have I just did not. I remember reading the first chapter and being like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And just being like, yes. And then it like, we got out of the prologue and I was like, what is this? First of all, where are my dragons? And second of all, I couldn't stand the main character. But he was like the worst version of Inigo Montoya.
Don't pretend that you like this book, Evie.
I know. All I know is references that Alan makes, and apparently the Shelf Space Civil War. So, which has just been reignited during this chat, apparently.
But wait, you compared the main character to Inigo Montoya. That's not a bad thing. Though.
No, I said he's the worst version of Inigo Montoya.
I didn't hear that part. I was
but
like,
also,
wait.
one's in a movie and not the main character perspective of a book. Like,
right.
I think that's different.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I love a good revenge story. But I just, it's one of the few books that I actually got. So I DNF books pretty frequently. My rule is like 100 pages. If you don't have me, I'm out. Sometimes I can say, oh, I might just not be in the mood. Sometimes I'm like, nope, this is just not for me. Goodbye. Rage of Dragons, I got 50% of the way through, and I just kept going, it has to get, everyone loves this book. It has to get better. It has to get better. It has to get better. And I got 50% to like 75% through, and I was just like, this is not getting better, and I don't personally care. And I was like, I was disappointed because I was like, I wanted to like the book so badly, and I just didn't, and I just couldn't. Tao, that was his name. I just couldn't. I hated him, and I really didn't like how outside of the the female character in the prologue was portrayed, every other female character that I came across in that book was horrible. Like, the portrayal of them was awful. I'm sorry. Okay, done.
That seems to be one of those books people either really like or they really don't like.
Yeah, it's a polarizing book for sure.
Yeah.
And nothing against people who like it. It just wasn't for me.
I get it.
No, everyone's wrong. You're right. That's how we're going today.
Angela has spoken.
I don't know when this video is going up, but the day that we're filming this, my video of everyone's wrong, I'm right went up. So.
Oh, okay. I can't wait to watch that later.
Yes.
Not that spicy.
I picked Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan, which I still have because this was a Christmas gift. I didn't hate it, but I started liking it, and then things became really convenient and hyperbolic. And the more I get away from it, the more I think of stuff that I didn't like. And I just didn't really care for it. I don't really have an interest in continuing with the series. And I've heard the series doesn't really get better.
I was expecting to sleep in a sea of stars. I'm not going to lie.
You know, I'm trying not to beat a dead horse. And this doesn't say hate. It just says don't really care for it. So I'm trying to be nice. Which goes against my character, but you know. Donna Meagle, a book that was spoiled for you.
Oh, crap. Poop.
Did you forget?
I piled these up the wrong way. Son of a whore. Anyways, it was supposed to be the Invisible Life out of your room. Apparently, I'm so out of it. All right, we're just going to go with the Invisible Life out of your room. Because B. Schwab spoiled it for me because of her freaking expectations. There you go. Refer to the answer for last question as well.
It's a multi-purpose book.
All right, Katrina, what do you got?
I honestly couldn't think of a book that I've read that has been spoiled for me, so I went with Twilight. I have never read the books, but I did watch the movies, so I know exactly what happens, and now I don't need to read them.
Well, except the last movie took some liberties, but sure, yeah.
I'm not reading them, though, so...
I was just saying, I'm not saying to read them, unless you are, like, I don't even know the scenario.
Yeah, you don't... The movies actually improved with those liberties, and I say that as someone who viciously hates Twilight, so...
I think the third movie is my favorite because it's really funny. In, like, some intentional ways and some unintentional ways.
Right. I mean, I saw most of the movies and I read most of the books, and I do applaud them for like what they did for people who like weren't readers until they read it. But I
remember just like I picked them up. I was a teenager. I picked them up. I was the demographic. I was having a fun time. And then book 4 happened, and I read that, and even as like a 14-year-old, I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is this book?
It became a throwable book at that point.
Yeah. I was like, this is so long. And Renesmee? Like,
oh, God, don't even get me started.
Anyways, for me, this is actually, I can't decide if I'm upset or okay with the fact that this did happen to me. It didn't really affect my opinions of the book, but the 5th season was spoiled for me. Someone in their Goodreads review, and I have told them this, and they're like someone I know in real life, and I don't think they ever changed it, but the first line of their Goodreads review spoils the 5th season. So the thing that everyone's always like, oh my God, in the 5th season, I knew from the beginning, which was kind of cool because it's like the reread experience on the first read where you can like follow the breadcrumbs that the author lays for the twist sort of thing. But in another way, like I didn't get to experience that, but also I never had that syndrome that seems to pervade booktube where everyone's like, I loved the 5th season, but the other 2 weren't as good because the other 2 don't necessarily have twists. They're just epic and awesome, and everyone's wrong. But yeah,
everyone's wrong. I'm right.
I have not read the third one, but I agree with you. The second one was equally amazing.
I was going to say, who gives talks crap about the other 2 books because
That's
I would
most
fight
of the
them.
internet. Like when people are like, I liked the first book a lot, but then I don't like the second or the third one. It's not just Murphy. She's one of the bigger ones who said that, but it's a lot of people.
I will
really-
fight the internet.
Yeah, well, it's hard. It's hard to fight the internet. I mean, obviously, like the Hugo committee was like, oh, this is an easy like award to give out, but I don't know.
We'll just
I don't
show
know.
them Candy.
That's,
Just
I mean, I'm
glorified
not even.
participation trophies.
Yeah, I think that's the only one that's been really bad. Although there was a scene in The Mask of Mirrors that was spoiled for me because I was buddy reading and the person marked the chapter wrong. It's the scene that you guys are thinking of.
I haven't read it yet.
There's a scene that's very stressful at the end of like part 2. It's during a dream sequence, and I was spoiled for that the chapter before I read it. So that kind of sucked. But
Wait, that wasn't me, right? Because I know I was.
no, I
often-
wasn't buddy reading it with you. It was a different.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of Leslie's Discord because there was at one point where I like
No,
marked
this was a
something,
Voxer
realized I had
thing. So
mischaptered it.
it was a Voxer buddy read, so I thought
Okay.
that it was safe because it had a certain chapter listed, but they listed the wrong chapter.
I got
Which,
you.
like, I'm not mad at them. It's just, it sucked.
It happens. Like, but that's just I'm
All right.
sorry.
Oh, this way.
So this is the one where I said I cheated because I've actually somehow never truly had a book spoiled for me unless I've actively said, I started reading this, I don't like it, tell me how it ends to someone. So I picked Circe, my Madeline Miller, because I've read the Odyssey many times, and I've read a lot of mythology, so I knew the plot points of like 90% of the things that are portrayed in this book, but it didn't actually diminish the experience for me because it expands upon those things, but I I knew her story. I knew the role she played in the Odyssey and all that. And like I said, because I've read the Odyssey 3 times.
Wow.
And then I just read a ton of mythology and mythology reinterpretation. So this was kind of spoiled.
Not a Song of Achilles, Circe specifically?
I mean, A Song of Achilles was my other choice for this, but I don't own Song of Achilles. But yeah, that was more of a spoiler because if you've read the Iliad or any summation of who Achilles is,
Or even
you
seen
know
the
that.
movie Troy, as bad as that movie
Right, if you've
may
seen the
be.
movie Troy, you know it. Also, you should know how to pronounce his name. It really irks me when people can't say his name. Patroclus.
Oh, I just don't. But yeah,
Oh,
I see.
A lot of people say Patroclus, and I'm 99.9% sure that's wrong. But I could be wrong. Who knows? But yeah, so that one too.
Well, I only mentioned that because I felt like Circe was like Song of Achilles, but took a little more liberties of where it tied in stories and what stories it put
It
Circe in,
does.
where she might not have been in originally. So that's why I was curious, because the Song of Achilles is way more like directly like
yeah. I mean,
queer
they
Iliad.
both take liberties in a lot of ways, but Circe definitely more so because Circe actually, like, she plays a large part in the Odyssey, but like, she doesn't actually appear. Like, she doesn't appear in Theseus and the Minotaur.
Mhm.
She doesn't appear in some of the other ones. She does not usually. Maybe she does. No, she doesn't meet Penelope. Oh,
Yeah. So like I said, there were a lot of side stories for Circe.
Yeah.
I was like, this didn't happen, did it? Maybe I forgot about her.
yeah. So that's yeah.
I was just curious.
Mine was
Valid
spoiled. Do it.
I was just saying, Angela, it's a valid question.
Yes. Mine was spoiled because it's a classic, and I think it was Gilmore Girls that spoiled it for me. But it's Anna Karenina. They spoiled the ending.
Oh.
And it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the book because this is one of my favorite books ever. But yeah, I think Dean was the one that spoiled it.
Freaking
Beautiful
figures.
edition.
Yeah. Yeah, my best friend bought this for me for my birthday one year.
That's gorgeous.
Evie,
So-
you were in my Discord when we were talking about when can a book be spoiled, and that's when I learned that Jacqueline Hyde is spoiled for me, but I've never read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been such a cool book when it came out.
I think it's cool if you don't know what's coming, but if it's spoiled for you, it's just not as.
But I mean, everyone knows what Jacqueline Hyde is. Everyone knows that.
I know.
Don't say what it's about
But-
in case you spoil it for other people.
I
Oh
will.
my god,
But
if
I
people
read
don't
it.
know.
I read it when I was younger, and I didn't know the twist, and I thought it was really good. But I feel like if I reread it, it wouldn't be as good.
You should read The Madman's Daughter by Megan Shepherd.
Ooh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I read it a couple years ago. I need to reread it because the third book came out, and I don't know why I didn't read it, but it does Jekyll and Hyde, Frankenstein, Island of Dr. Moreau, and a couple other like of those classic Gothic. Yeah, and I thought she does a pretty good job with it. It's YA, so grain of salt, but she weaves it all together very well.
So going back to my parent confusion, so I looked back at my notes, and I did have Brandon Sanderson as the Gary, Jerry, Larry, Terry, Gergich prompt. So dodged a bullet there, I guess, Angela.
That still hurts.
You guys
I'm
didn't have to hear
okay.
me rant
I'm
again.
really
Fine.
quite pleased with it. Honestly, the highlight of my day is a lot of people saying, "Actually, I like Elantris," and I'm like, "Thank you. I'm not alone."
I will say that I like Elantris better than I do the Final Empire. So
I give Elantris to people who I think won't like the video game type magic system.
Nice. Chris Traeger, a character that is dealing with a lot of emotional baggage.
all right,
Literally.
What?
Sorry. I said literally.
literally. So this is probably a book that not a lot of people heard of, but it's Sabria Damascus Bittersweet by Ulfet Idiobi. She was a Syrian author, and it is literally about Sabria, and it's kind of one of those nested narratives where it starts in at least a modern time from this when this was written, or at least maybe 20 years before, and then it goes back in time to when the character was younger, and it just follows her throughout her life to explain why she is where she is now. And and it's, I'm trying to remember, it's life in Damascus in Syria in the 1920s. So
Ooh,
and
Sounds good.
it deals with a lot of like feminist issues in the in Syria, and I think it was not the Syrian Civil War, but National Revolt. There you go. Syrian National Revolt that was happening at the time. So I really like this. It makes me very sad that I cannot find any of the author's other works because apparently they're not in print anymore, if they're even translated. But I very much like this book, so highly recommend it if you like more literary world literature. So
I had such a hard time thinking of an answer for this because there's so many characters in fantasy that have emotional baggage, but nothing that like was prominently standing out to me when I was trying to think of the answers. So I went with Nevermore. Middle grade, Morgan Crow, the middle grade book. And it is because she was born on an unlucky day. So the whole town blames every misfortune on her, which has to be hard for a kid, right? And she's destined to die on her 11th birthday and has to live with that knowledge for the first 10 years of her life. So I figured if that wasn't emotional baggage, nothing was. And yes, also, again, the UK editions, man, like, look, can I show you this? Look
No,
at
you're not
this.
allowed.
Oh
Oh, that
Look
is
at that.
stunning.
So
That is
pretty.
stunning.
It's so pretty. So yeah, that was
I just love how we all made a sad face when you started talking about that book.
I know.
I've
But it
never
is-
read it, but it sounds terribly depressing.
I mean, it starts off that way. It gets happy eventually, I promise.
she has like a Harry Potter moment, doesn't she? She gets told she gets to go to like a magical school.
Yes.
Okay.
Aw.
Yes. Actually, this man right here, the redheaded Dumbledore, comes and tells her.
He looks like a leopard.
Yeah.
It does look like a
Ooh, I
leprechaun.
like that. Step
Yeah.
boldly.
Step boldly, yes.
I like that.
Ooh.
Literally almost every book I read has a character that could define this. The entire Stormlight Archive character cast requires group therapy. There actually is now a video where there's a video where a bunch of our friends did the therapy session, and it was fantastic. I loved it so much. Have you guys seen that?
Was that
with,
on
like Grace and everything. And yeah, it's on Ben's. Yeah,
Oh.
it's fantastic.
I didn't watch it
Oh.
because they said it was spoilery.
Yeah. But it's but
I'll watch it. I'm not gonna read it. I'll watch it.
I mean, I don't. So it is spoilery, but I think sometimes there's a spoiler that out of context you don't know is a spoiler.
That's
Okay.
true.
You know, like
Yeah.
it depends on how many notes you're taking and how much you're going to remember. But regardless, that's not my answer. There's a lot of books. Basically, every book I read every week. And the books I read this week was Symbiosis, and the first book is Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden. Look how pretty it is. Everyone should read this. Well, maybe not, but I really like it. And the second book in Symbiosis, the main character, Seske, I don't know if that's how you say her name. It's Seske. Don't know how to pronounce it. And I didn't listen to the audiobook. She goes through a lot and makes bad decisions because she went through a lot. And a lot of her character work is based off how she's dealing with a lot. So she seemed appropriate for this. And I just finished Symbiosis today. And it's so good. And like it has only like 100 ratings on Goodreads. And I'm just like, how? They're so pretty. And she also, the author, wrote Symbiosis in 2020, and her acknowledgement section is so sweet for like all the friends that helped her finish this book in like that year. You know, because 2020 was a year where creativity went to die for some people for understandable reasons.
Yep.
So
I have to
2020
say,
even a year?
no, that doesn't exist. Reading author acknowledgments has become one of my favorite things with books. They're just like more often than not so gracious and heartwarming, and I have found myself really, you know, like when you're just like, I'm not gonna read that. Now it's like I make a point of reading them. But anyways, my answer for this was Legendborn by Tracy Dion, because we have a main character whose mother has died very tragically, and she's sort of coming to terms with that. And as this book goes on, new information is revealed. She's also a young Black woman at like a school that's primarily white, and it's not an Ivy League school, but it's UNC Chapel Hill is where this is set. And so you're in the South. It's a school that historically rich and white, and there's a lot of interesting commentary on education and that woven into this story. This is a King Arthur reimagining. I refuse to call it a retelling. It's not a retelling. So that was my choice for this.
is your book more red than the other ones, or is it the camera?
This is
your
a
book
special edition.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not what I thought that cover looked like.
No, most of the other editions are more blue. This is the Owl Crate edition.
Okay.
Sharon from Sharon Dwyer gifted this to me because she didn't want it. So it's also like.
Do any of you guys ever worry about getting special editions of like first books and series, and then the rest of the series won't match? Like that's why I don't do it.
I mean, for me, it didn't matter too much because it's literally just the color is different.
Yeah, that's fair
like,
for that one.
It itself isn't different, but what was cool is like, I think the regular one is black with the red symbol, and this one just reversed it. And then this was also signed, which was neat. And Sharon was just like, I think she had like multiple editions, and and apparently there's. Okay, I just made a discovery about this book.
Oh, it has the poster on the cover, right?
Yes, it does.
Ooh.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like the Jasmine Throne and the Unbroken both have special editions that are hardbacks, but I know the rest of the series will never be hardbacks. That's like when it's like a type difference that I'm just like, I can't do that. Or at least I could, but I can't.
Yeah, I've run into that issue. They're releasing special editions of Garth Nix's. Oh my gosh, what is the series called? Yeah, the Abhorsen trilogy, and they took the old school paperback covers, which are beautiful, beautiful illustrations, and have like re-released them. But they only did Sabriel in a hardcover, and the rest of the series they're just doing in paperback, which I'm still going to buy them because the illustrations that are on the cover are amazing. But I'm very upset that they're not doing all of the original 3 in hardback. Maybe they'll change their mind, but right now it's only Sabriel. So I have Sabriel, but I don't have the other 2. I derailed that conversation. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, I ask questions. I have very book opinions about collecting things. Stephanie.
No, it's okay. I picked Fitz. Very cliche answer. Like everything that could happen to him does happen to him. And Robin Hobb just hurts him so much.
I'm sorry, just Angela, your reaction.
You knew it was coming.
Well, I didn't know, but I'm like, of course. It was kind of like the Bear and the Nightingale moment. I'm like, of
I
course.
know.
Although I just finished the live ship trader series. There are other characters in there with extreme emotional baggage.
I know, but this one is the first book in a series, so I didn't think it would potentially spoil anything.
I mean, isn't it
Just look
kind of
forward to
common
so
knowledge
much,
that Robin
like-
Hood,
It is,
like,
but especially Fitz.
Well, and like Fitz, it's like
Not me.
Fitz doesn't even know it's happening, which kind of makes it frustrating because he doesn't know he's coping with his mental health, which is relatable, obviously, but it's Fitz is a lot. Fitz is like,
And you're in his head, so it's even worse,
yeah,
I feel like.
yeah. But I really want to read more. I'm like trying not to start Tawny Man right now because I don't think I'm ready. But
Yeah, I would wait a little.
there's a part of that first book though that I almost threw
Yep.
the book across the room.
Yeah.
I don't have the same book part that everyone else does, but I don't like the beginning of Assassin's Apprentice for the same reasons I don't like Huckleberry Finn, and that is following young boys is the opposite of fun to me.
Yeah.
It's not relatable to me. I don't like what they like, and nothing they do is cool. I'm just like, this isn't fun. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You needed to read Tamora Pierce when you were young.
I know, but I didn't have Tamar Pierce. I had his Dark Materials. I had Harry Potter. I did okay.
Also solid.
I did okay, but I didn't have Tamar Pierce.
She was hard to find. She's still hard to find, which is weird because she's like one of the OG like YA authors.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, everyone.
Finally, Tom Haverford, a character that has a lot of swag.
So, for my answer, this character probably thinks he has a lot of swag, but it is John Pearson from Jonah's Jonah's Gourdvine by Zora Neale Hurston. This story follows John Pearson throughout his life, starts when he was a child and up throughout his life. And he basically thinks that he has a lot of power, and he does get a lot of, like, not political, well, kind of political, but more like community power through like his church and stuff like that. And he thinks he has like all this power of his own accord, but he really doesn't. It's the women around him that really make him, which is one of the reasons why reason number 7,422 why I love Zora Neale Hurston is just her ability to explore societal like things through her stories and through her characters. But anyways, John Pearson, he thinks he has a lot of swag, but it's debatable.
I recently finished this book, Trader's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. And this follows three main characters, basically. They're friends. They are three of the remaining Greatcoats who have kind of scattered after the king has been overthrown and killed by the dukes. And all of that is before this book happened, so that's not a spoiler. But one of the friends, his name is Brasti, and he has way too much confidence for his own good. He is the living embodiment of swagger. Like, I wouldn't have had a good answer for this if I didn't just read this book. And this was the only thing I could think of for this question. And he just thinks he is God's gift to a woman, to the world. Like, he is it. And he believes it wholeheartedly. And he acts like it, man. Probably my least favorite character in the book.
I'm not wondering if that character is the character that does the bad scene, but I think that's actually a different one. But mine is Vargo from The Mask of Mirrors.
Damn it! Literally.
Wait, you just hold that book up real quick. Vargo, everyone, could have been my number 2. Because should I date Vargo? No. But would I have when I was 17? Yes.
Yes.
Would it have
I
been a
had a feeling.
You guys make a great team.
Vargo? First of all, no one loves Vargo enough. Everyone's like, Vargo's such a great character, such a villain. He's not a villain. He's a hero. He's the hero of his story. Okay? He is F capitalism I want in. Okay? That's what we all want. He's a little bit all for himself, but like that's not a crime. I don't know. But Vargo literally has the best outfits the entire story. Like the entire you always know what he's wearing. He has the best outfit for this one masquerade that is like when Leslie talks about it, it's always really funny.
Yes, it's wonderful.
It's a wonderful outfit. He also is like really rich, maybe used to run a mafia, has a lot of stuff. So he has swag, like physically, and he has a lot of like charismatic swag. And yeah, his charisma's off the charts. And he likes to bribe people with like food and like things when he feels guilty. Which, like, honestly, if you're gonna mess up and then you feed me afterwards, that's the step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So you can continue with your Vargo thoughts.
I mean, you kind of said it all. And it was funny because I was like, I'm going to say this. Angela's probably going to say the same thing. Well, but maybe she won't. And then I was like, and I almost picked it. Like, I was like, I should probably have a backup for this. I was like, no, I'm just going to go for it.
It's fine.
It's
also,
that,
I apologize for
that
dropping
good of an
curse words.
answer.
It's that
okay.
good.
But yeah, like you said it. He just like is the epitome of swagger in both the material sense and in the attitude sense, because he just kind of walks around like, yeah, I'm here. Now what? Like he's phenomenal. I mean, and like, I wouldn't say he's a hero because I actually don't think we have a hero in this series. I think
I don't know what the definition of genres are or heroes because I'm not a really critical analyzer of things. I make things up and let people yell at me in the comments. That's all I do.
Well, but I think like you've hit the nail on the head. He's the hero of his own story, and most of the characters in this, like the main characters that we follow, are kind of the hero of their own story. There's one character that might be like the epitome of like, when you think of a hero, this is the definition, but even that we're not sure. So, yeah. So I also said Vargo from
because Vargo's fantastic, and he's the cover of Liar's Knot, and I've never been happier in my life.
Wait, what?
You remember Liar's Knot? He's the cover.
Oh yeah,
he's so pretty. He's gorgeous.
I think I stopped looking at the book because I was just like, this is just making me depressed that I don't have this in my hands yet.
I'm really hoping the paper shortage lets me get a copy. I don't want to pre-order it though because it's paperback, and I like to pick my paperbacks. I like to choose which damages I take home.
That's the same thing. That's why I haven't pre-ordered it either, because I'm like, nope, I will just go on release day to my bookstore.
It's a sequel. How many people are going to be picking it up, right?
Well, considering that, honestly, like in terms of people talking about this, it's like you, me, Leslie, Stephanie, and Kate.
Yeah, I'm an AJ channel. I mean, the other big booktuber who's read it is Elliot Brooks. And I mean, she liked it, but she didn't love it. Okay. Yeah. She talked about it back in January, February.
I must have just missed that. But like, other than that, it's like, I feel like, I'm like, why is nobody reading this? It's amazing.
I don't know. It's a mistake.
You haven't read it, get on that.
Evie, don't read it. Evie, don't touch it. Run away.
I know. I zoned out during that part of the conversation.
Katrina, read it.
I'm going to read it. I have it on my shelf.
Okay. There is a chance Evie would like it if she thinks about it in like a Jane Austen lens, potentially. But potentially.
Maybe.
But I would rather you just run away from it.
Well, I did read like the preview pages on Amazon or whatever, and I'm like, I'm not really jiving with this writing style, so I'm just not gonna
get out.
Yeah.
Was this book in your video today, Angela?
Yes.
I thought so.
My video today is not surprising whatsoever. I just really wanted to talk about why people hurt my feelings when they talk about my favorite books in bad ways.
Honestly, I'm surprised that my name didn't come up during that.
No, Leslie hurt me more than you, because Leslie should have liked Elantris.
All right, I'll take it.
Oh my god. So I literally wrote Vargo and then crossed him out because I knew one of you would pick him. And I didn't want to be really repetitive.
Guys, Mask of Mirrors. It's great. It's the perfect book for the holidays. Read it over Thanksgiving week. Ignore your family. Do it.
And that'll be just in time for the next book to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Game
I'm gonna have
plan.
to reread it. I'm gonna reread
That's my
it
current plan. You
That's
think I
my
have
plan.
another plan?
Yes. So I picked John Thorpe from Northanger Abbey. He also thinks he's God's gift to women.
Yep.
And he's so frustratingly funny and doesn't listen to what other people tell him. And he just thinks he's amazing. And he's very hyperbolic. Like everything he has is just the best and the most expensive and very irritating.
Oh, girl, Mrs. Thorpe.
Oh,
I know.
I just thought of another one so we could have 5 answers. All right, it's General Jadao from Nine Fox Gambit. He doesn't have a body, but hear me out.
Best quote ever. He doesn't have a body.
We need to get that one to
Wait.
Yeah.
Well, listen, whenever he's described, everyone says he's so charismatic that he always brings people over, and then the government always gets so frustrated that they like put him back into this box because he's too good at bringing people over to his side. And he has this Texan Southern drawl, like that's always brought up and stuff like that. So I don't know.
What is this book?
Oh, it's fantastic.
I have
it's a
it. I got
sci-fi,
it from
isn't it?
Evie, actually.
We're reading it this month for Space Sirens.
Yeah, you should read it. Space
Wait,
Sirens Book
September?
Club.
Mm-hmm.
September? Oh,
So our live show will be October something.
Probably like the second weekend in October.
I
For
mean,
sure,
it
not
is-
the first
it's
weekend
a
of
little
October.
book. It's not very long either.
It's 300 pages. 302
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah.
It's confusing. I'm not going to lie. But you should just let it
Mhm.
happen.
I mean, you could say the same thing about Mask of Mirrors. At the
No.
beginning.
Mask of Mirrors attempts to explain things to you.
Not
Trust me. Nine Fox Gambit. You should read the first chapter of Nine Fox Gambit.
Okay, fair. It is on my TBR somewhere.
I mean, I want people to read it, but I also like good expectations. But I think General Jadao also has a lot of swag. But he doesn't
With
have
no
a body.
body.
And I think that's why he has no material possessions and no body, but I still think he has swag. So
That's like the ultimate form of swag.
yeah,
Like,
he exudes swag. And like it makes sense when you read the book, but regardless, General Jadao is great. I don't even know if I say his name correctly because I don't know how to say it's Jedao and it's Korean, but I don't know how to pronounce things in Korean.
Mm-mm.
Well, at least the author is Korean American in Texas and talks about a lot of foods. There's a lot of fusion foods. I love you and Holly. They're hysterical.
All
right.
So last, is there anyone you want to tag?
So I cannot remember if this Kate even likes Parks and Rec, but Kate Coy. I'm gonna go ahead and tag her.
Okay.
I am going to tag another Kate. Kate from the Literary Apothecary, because she loves this show.
Well, then let's just finish it off and tag Kate, the almost book doctor, too.
There you
The
go.
3 Kates.
An abundance of Kates.
There we go. I'm going to tag Grace because I know she likes to do tags while she's busy being a productive human, which like
Mhm.
A+. I should be doing that.
And
I'm
she
not-
created the Brooklyn Nine-Nine book tag, so
Which we will be doing eventually.
I
Don't you
can't
worry.
wait.
If no one's noticed, we just do TV book tags now.
I'm trying to think of someone else that we know that likes the show. I feel like Zara likes Parks and Rec, so I'll tag Zara. Or
Even
books-
if she
books with
doesn't,
Zara.
she can still do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the questions are not.
Right.
And we've talked about Leslie enough that I'm just going to tag her. I don't know if Grace or Leslie watch this show, and if not, you guys should. Period.
should.
End of
Everyone
story. Just you have to get through the first season.
I was gonna say,
It's 6 episodes. It's like 2 hours.
yeah, I would say like there's some gems in the last couple episodes because that's where you can tell
Yeah.
they sort of started to find their feet.
That first season was rough, though.
The first season tries to be The Office too much, and I promise it doesn't stay that way.
Yeah,
Yes.
it finds its own.
It doesn't lean into the cringe humor that bad.
Yeah, it moves away from it.
Yeah, it becomes more wholesome
Yeah,
embarrassment humor. Like it's still
Mhm.
about watching people be fools, but
yeah.
it's different.
Well, and it's so funny because I was gonna say just skip the first season, which was how I was told to watch it, and that's actually how I did. And then I went back and watched the first season later. it's one of my favorite shows of all time, so it worked for me, but
I don't know. It's only 2 hours. That's what I say. It's just 2 hours.
that's true.
I don't know.
Agreed.
Do what you want. It's your life. You can lie to us and say you've
But
watched
watch
it.
the show.
Yeah, watch it.
Yes.
It's so good.
Unpopular opinion. Was it Paul? No, that's the actor's name. Crap.
Oh, the guy who was in the first 2 seasons
Yeah.
before Ben.
Mark
showed up?
Brandanowitz.
Yes,
Mark.
Mark.
Oh God, Mark.
And
I liked him. So
No.
yeah.
I mean, he was
No.
fine, but he was the definition of just like stale bread.
Well, they
he
put him as too much of a straight man for everybody else.
Well, yeah, I'm sure the
Yeah.
actor could have done more. I'm just what they
Yeah.
chose to create.
yes.
They tried to make him like Jim, but without the funny side of Jim from The Office, like where Jim will
He
get.
literally had the same haircut. It was I don't
Yeah,
even watch
and
The
outfit,
Office, and I was
the
making
outfit.
parallels.
Yeah, it. I think that actor did a good job with what he was given, but that character's just out of place with how they did him.
But you should watch the show because it's
Yes.
very good and it'll make you happy. And
It'll make
like
you so
you need
happy.
things that'll make you happy.
Yeah.
There are Parks and Rec episodes that are in my if Ariel's sad and having a bad day, we put on this episode.
Also, if you're curious about the validity of the Venezuelan episode, can confirm that's exactly how shit goes down. I'm like kind of kidding, but also it is a corrupt government, so.
All right.
Listen, the
And-
Venezuelan episode I've watched multiple times because that's the one my friends always showed me to try to get me into the show.
Why would he choose that one?
Because I'm Venezuelan, I don't know.
Oh,
Like one of my
goodness.
least favorite episodes.
And on that note,
This has just been chaos. I'm sorry. This is like my 3rd live stream of the week.
yeah, no, it's fine. It's great
I like
entertainment.
the chaos.
Yes. And we have a new shirt for Judith to make. So,
Oh, which one was that? Hear me out. He doesn't have a body.
Yeah.
She's even read the book, so she'll understand.
yes. Well, I have linked everybody's channels in the description, and you should definitely go check everyone out because they're all amazing. And thank you for watching this chaotic tag. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.